My name is Claire Thompson, 38 years old, real estate investor. I had spent the last decade pouring every ounce of my energy into my career, navigating the intricate maze of real estate markets with skill and precision. The thrill of finding a property, the strategy of flipping it, breathing life into something that others had dismissed, it was my passion. Yet, that day in the conference room, I felt passion turn to ice. Claire, Mark Reynolds began, his voice deep but lacking the warmth I had come to expect from him. I could see his hands twitching slightly on the polished table, a sign that he was treading on uneasy ground. My heart raced, sensing an impending storm. We need to talk. There was a shift in the air, a heavy tension that caused the hairs on the back of my neck to prickle. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, but what could it be? I had just signed off on a major deal that had been my brainchild for months. Surely, this meeting was a formality, nothing more. As he leaned back, studying me with an expression that swung between remorse and something more sinister, I felt a tightening in my chest. Every rise and fall of his tone was like a drumbeat in my ears. We've decided to let you go. The words hung in the air, cold and cutting. A wave of disbelief washed over me. The ground beneath my feet felt unsteady, like standing on shifting sands. I blinked, forcing my mind to calculate the implications. This was my life's work crumbling in an instant. I had dedicated countless hours to late-night projects, sacrificed social engagements, and bled for this career. Why wasn't Mark celebrating my success instead of sabotaging it? I could sense how this must have thrilled him. He had long viewed my accomplishments as a threat to the fragile facade he constructed. Even as he uttered those words, I could see the flicker of satisfaction behind his facade, the envy that I had ignored for too long, now revealed clearly. I could almost hear his silent thoughts, finally, a chance to eliminate the rival from his life. They underestimated the depth of my determination, I thought stubbornly. That thought crystallized in my mind like a mantra. I had fought too hard to allow this betrayal to define my life. I forced a steady breath, willing myself to stay composed. What about the projects? What about the deal we just landed? I forced the question out, my voice a blend of confusion and defiance. It's not about the projects, Claire, he replied, his condescending tone deepening, akin to a judge pronouncing a sentence. It's simply time for a change. We have a new direction, one that doesn't include you. His words felt like nails hammering into my chest. I wanted to scream, to protest at the injustice of it all. But instead, I steeled myself and turned my thoughts inward. How could I have let myself be blind to the jealousy simmering beneath his surface? I should have known better. Those snide comments about my ambition, the way he slighted my contributions in meetings, all painted a clearer picture now. With each heartbeat, I plotted my next steps. Discussions with networking contacts, tapping into resources I had built over the years, searching for opportunities without the weight of Mark's shadow. I envisioned a future where I wouldn't just be standing on the sidelines. I would be leading the charge, defining my worth on my own terms. As I stood up to leave, my back straightened, and my mind buzzed with ideas. I would forge a new path in real estate, one more powerful than the last. I left the conference room without a backward glance. I felt the sting of betrayal turning into fuel for my ambition. There was a spark within me now, one that Mark had unknowingly ignited through his short-sightedness. And my journey had just begun. The next few days blurred together as I navigated the churning sea of emotions, rage, disbelief, and a strange sense of freedom. I could have easily let Mark's betrayal consume me, stifling the fire ignited in that conference room. But instead, I chose to rewind the tape of my memories with him, examining everything that had led to this moment. Flashbacks rushed in, each vivid and painful. I remembered the initial thrill I felt when I joined Mark's firm. He had been charismatic, effortlessly charming, and at first, he welcomed my enthusiasm for the business. I recalled our first meeting, the way he praised my vision for a redevelopment project that would breathe life into an aging neighborhood. "You're the future of this industry," he had said, his eyes sparkling with pride as he stoked the flames of my ambition. I was in awe, eager to learn from someone who seemed to possess not only the Midas touch but also the wisdom to teach me. But over time, the glimmer of his admiration dulled, replaced by a simmering jealousy. I dismissed the subtle signs, convinced that I could navigate this complicated terrain. Those passive-aggressive comments during meetings, "Oh, Claire, that's a bold move. Are you sure you want to risk our reputation?" I had brushed them off as playful jabs, reminders of his experience. Besides, I had a natural flair for identifying deals that others overlooked. I often reveled in the exhilaration of sealing agreements, crafting smooth strategies that took the team to new heights. Yet, with each success, Mark became colder, his compliments edged with sarcasm, his demeanor growing more dismissive. As I stood in front of my mirror, adjusting my blazer for a networking event, I couldn't help but replay those moments in my mind. The scorn cloaked in sugar-coated words had nearly become commonplace. The sting of disappointment mixed with bitterness when I recalled the project in downtown where he had commandeered my pitch, shifting the credit neatly into his own hands while I stood in the corner, feeling invisible. Over time, I had let those moments stack up like dry kindling, awaiting the flashpoint that inevitably arrived. Through my reflection, I saw a version of myself that was naive, too eager to please, hungry for validation. I had fed into this cycle, thinking my efforts were leading to mutual respect. It wasn't until Mark's betrayal that the pin dropped. I understood, shatteringly clear, that my determination had always made me a target. I was the future he feared. At the networking event, the atmosphere buzzed with opportunity. I forced myself to smile and extend my hand, navigating conversations that once would have been second nature to me. Every handshake felt like a challenge, a flickering reminder of the bruises I carried from my last venture. But all I could see was potential, a room of possibilities. I encountered old colleagues, some surprised to see me thriving despite the dismissal, and others who didn't know yet. "How are you faring, Claire?" one asked, a mix of sympathy and curiosity in her gaze. I admired her concern and met it with grace. "I'm reinventing myself. The real estate world is vast, and I'm just getting started." Little did they know, I was silently gathering intel. Eyes and ears peeled for every bit of information about Mark and his ventures. I quelled the rising anger with a strategic undercurrent of observation. I knew his pride would be his downfall. Weeks turned into months as I meticulously laid the groundwork for my resurgence. I reached out to acquaintances, piecing together a network of people who had carved their own paths in the industry, those who understood my talent, believed in my vision, and welcomed my tenacity. Slowly but surely, the bright flickers in my mind of what I could accomplish began to gain momentum. Throughout this time, I focused intently on one thing. I wouldn't let Mark's betrayal define me, I would redefine the narrative. I devoured knowledge, attended seminars, and read copiously, immersing myself in market analysis, property valuations, and negotiation strategies. I learned to wield the tools of knowledge like a weapon. I also discovered more details regarding Mark's post-breakup struggles. A colleague had hinted that there were rumblings within his firm, projects were not delivering returns, and the financial strain was evident. As I pieced the puzzle together, I recognized an opportunity presenting itself on the horizon. It filled me with both excitement and resolve. They underestimated the depth of my determination, I told myself again, more fervently this time. I visualized the moment I'd confront him, not out of anger but out of sheer, triumphant pride. It would be the day I turned the tables, the day I reclaimed my rightful place. It wasn't merely about revenge, it was about becoming a force. As each day passed, I honed my skills, rebuilt my reputation, and crafted the blueprint for my comeback. Every interaction fueled my ambitions, every glance at the towering skyline of potential properties ignited inspiration. I was losing the old Claire, but making way for someone far more powerful. I was no longer a puppet caught in the strings of someone else's ambition. I was the architect of my destiny, poised to rise and etch my name among the elite. The journey began anew. Weeks melted into an invigorating rhythm of research and discovery, my mind constantly churning with new insights and strategies. The world of real estate came alive for me, its intricacies unfolding like a captivating novel. I set my sights on both Mark's operations and my own ascension, fully aware that knowledge was my greatest weapon. Networking became both a strategy and an art form. At events filled with ambition and aspiration, I engaged with everyone, from ex-colleagues to potential allies. I highlighted my recent experiences, crafting a narrative of resilience, all while probing discreetly for any weakness within Mark's firm. A gentle question here, an innocuous comment there, every interaction was a thread woven into my greater strategy. It was during one of these high-profile galas that I locked eyes with Sam, a former coworker who had a clear view into Mark's world. I sidled up to him, masking my curiosity beneath a congenial smile. "How's it going at Mark's firm these days?" I asked. The casual inquiry masked the tension in my heart. I was eager for insight. He leaned in conspiratorially, glancing over his shoulder before speaking. "Honestly? It's not great. Projects haven't been delivering, rumor has it they're in over their heads. Jenna's pulling her hair out trying to keep things together." The information sent a ripple of excitement through me. Every word he spoke solidified what I'd sensed: Mark's empire was starting to falter. Emboldened, I pressed further, letting Sam divulge details as I listened closely. He mentioned that Mark had recently taken out large loans to fund new acquisitions. "He's trying to maintain that success facade, but the pressure's building," Sam noted, a hint of pity in his voice. I appreciated his concern, but all I felt was opportunity. Over the next few days, I pored over project reports and property listings, combing through every detail that could give me leverage. I discovered that Mark had made a substantial investment in a luxurious mansion in an upscale neighborhood while his firm grappled with deepening financial woes. This financial gambit seemed dangerous and desperate, and incredibly revealing. I couldn't help but wonder if he was trying to project an image of stability that might fade as fast as shadows at dusk. Days turned into weeks, and my laptop screen was a canvas splattered with data, insights, and strategies. I found myself honing in on their projects that were slipping. For every misstep they made, I jotted down notes about potential openings for me to re-enter the scene, this time as a force to be reckoned with. My nights turned into sprints of strategizing. The adrenaline fueled my ambition as I envisioned my rise from the ashes. But the real excitement came with each industry event where I could observe Mark in action. I watched him navigate rooms with fierce charisma, but beneath the surface, I detected the occasional tension in his interactions. Short exchanges turned wary in the presence of their financial losses. I took mental notes, analyzing the people he surrounded himself with and how his necessity to maintain authority often crumbled into unease. One night, while attending a high-stakes auction, I overheard a gripping conversation between Jenna and Mark. "If we don't turn things around quickly, we could be in real trouble," she said, her eyes flaring with concern. "Investors are losing confidence." That was the golden nugget I needed. Their internal panic was palpable, the pressure mounting, and I couldn't help but revel in this whispered exchange. These encounters only further fueled my resolve. They underestimated the depth of my determination, I muttered under my breath, a mantra that grew stronger with each realization. My patience was beginning to pay off, and I felt the scales tipping. I set my sights keenly on that mansion, envisioning myself walking those lavish hallways not as a rival, but as a visionary ready to reclaim my rightful place. This was my moment, a mix of calculated ambition and a promise for a brighter future. Staking my claim on the mansion was not only a practical move, it would serve as a testament to my rebirth in this competitive arena. I envisioned transforming it into a flagship project, innovative designs paired with sustainable elements that would resonate with the market's evolving demands. As I pictured it all coming together, a spark ignited within me, a fierce belief that I could not only rise but shine brighter than ever before. With renewed energy, I made my preparations, building a convincing proposal and drafting a meticulous plan. The journey ahead would not be easy, but I was ready to step into the role I had always been destined for, ready to etch my name among the elite and finally take my place on my own terms. The world would soon understand. I was a force to be reckoned with, reborn stronger than before. With unwavering determination, I dived into meticulous planning. My dining room transformed into a strategy hub, design sketches scattered alongside market reports, each detail painstakingly crafted to extract the maximum impact from my upcoming project. The steady rhythm of my keyboard became a lifeline. Every keystroke propelled me closer to my goal. My focus centered on the mansion. To grasp its potential, I immersed myself in research, exploring neighborhood trends, buyer demographics, and sustainable designs that could elevate it in the marketplace. I examined how to incorporate eco-friendly features without sacrificing opulence, crafting a vision that balanced luxury with responsibility. I was carving out a niche, a breathtaking sanctuary for discerning buyers seeking both style and substance. As my vision crystallized, it became clear, I needed to gather a coalition of investors who shared my enthusiasm. They wouldn't just finance a renovation, they'd be investing in a new standard of living, one that emphasized sustainability. I crafted a compelling narrative to present, aiming to inspire confidence in my approach. The turning point came one afternoon over a coffee meeting with Doug, a well-respected investor known for his visionary perspective. As we exchanged pleasantries, I could feel the anticipation building within me. I wanted him to see my ambition, how profound this opportunity could be. "Doug, I've come across a remarkable property," I began, holding my breath. "This mansion isn't just a beautiful space, it's an opportunity to redefine luxury living. Picture a residence equipped with renewable energy solutions and innovative designs that would capture the market's attention." He raised an eyebrow and nodded for me to continue. I launched into the details, how I intended to meld state-of-the-art technology with elegant design. By the time I concluded, there was a glimmer of interest in his eyes. "Claire," he said thoughtfully, "you understand the market well. But why should investors trust this will be different from other ambitious projects?" Looking him directly in the eye, I responded with unbridled conviction, "Because I embody this project. I have been through the fire, and I know both the pitfalls and the triumphs of this industry. This is not just another venture, it's personal." Our discussion evolved into a brainstorming session as we explored the property's potential, pinpointing features that would not only elevate its appeal but also align with current market trends. Doug agreed to consider my proposal seriously, but I knew I needed to solidify my plans further. Over the next few weeks, I educated myself on financial models, honing projections that would withstand scrutiny. Days melded into nights filled with calculations, refining budgets to fit my ambitious vision. Each moment spent preparing felt productive. I was inching closer to creating something meaningful. When I began pitching to a select group of investors, the reception was encouraging. They responded to my fervor, seeing my dedication reflected in what I presented. Each commitment I received built momentum, propelling me towards something greater. Within a month, I was ready to make an offer on the mansion. With my heart pounding, I hit send to the broker, submitting my proposal with a blend of triumph and trepidation. Would they accept? I doubted but recalled all my encounters with Mark's faltering enterprise, using that as motivation to stay resilient. The wait that followed felt agonizing. I kept reaching out to my network to keep abreast of any news from Mark's firm. A recent development caught my attention. They had lost a significant project due to financial struggles, intensifying competitors' advantages. The pressure continued to mount on them, which only strengthened my resolve. Finally, after days of anticipation, the broker's email arrived. My offer was accepted. An electric thrill surged through me. The mansion was now my canvas, each corner a potential showcase of innovation. Excitement morphed into focus as I mapped out how to bring my vision to life. I asked around for recommendations and set meetings with architects who shared my commitment to sustainable design. Collaborating with innovators, I aimed to craft spaces that became extensions of the landscape rather than disruptions. As my network expanded, I found the right blend of contractors, designers, and builders, all eager to transform the mansion into a masterpiece that resonated with my vision. The construction site became a vibrant hub of creation, where I felt the excitement of possibility. Yet, Mark loomed in the background as a reminder. I was constantly aware of their diminished stature, of whispers that their operations were teetering on collapse. I reveled in the knowledge that while they struggled, I was cultivating something remarkable, an ascent out of the shadows into the light. The momentum built towards the mansion's transformation soared to near completion. I envisioned the grand reveal, each detail meticulously curated to reflect not only my vision but also the journey that had led me here. In those final phases of construction, I was a constant presence on the site. Each afternoon, I walked through the spaces, visualizing how sunlight would filter through the windows and how the innovative landscaping would set the stage for an oasis of relaxation. I championed green technology installations with insistence. Every decision echoed the ethos of sustainability I was intertwining into this project. The vision of a luxury sanctuary soon became palpable, an assertive statement about what modern living could embody. As the day of the grand unveiling approached, I realized the transformative nature of this moment. I was finally stepping into my identity as a leader, a force to be reckoned with. Each email I crafted about the event was infused with enthusiasm and anticipation, carefully designed to ensure that people would come, not just to witness a property, but to experience a revolution in luxury living. The inaugural event would be my stage, a place where I would showcase not just a mansion but a promise of what was to come. My heart raced as I envisioned the crowd, the press coverage, and the excitement building around my project. This was it. This was my resurgence. The world would soon witness my transformation, a powerful declaration of who I had become. The day of the unveiling dawned with a brilliance that mirrored my anticipation. I awoke early, the sun spilling golden rays into my room, igniting a fire in my belly. Every detail had been meticulously orchestrated, from the lavish flower arrangements to the carefully curated guest list. As I dressed, I felt as though I were donning armor for battle. This would be my demonstration of victory. When I arrived at the mansion, the workers buzzed around like bees in a hive, adding final touches and ensuring everything was perfect. The air was thick with the scent of fresh paint and polished wood. It was exhilarating, a manifestation of the countless hours I had poured into this project. With each step I took through the entrance, I imagined future buyers walking the same path, feeling the same awe I had envisioned for months. The moment the guests began to arrive, a mixture of excitement and dread flickered through me. I stood at the entrance, welcoming them with a confident smile, even as my heart raced beneath the surface. Familiar faces among the crowd, investors, real estate moguls, critics, each one held the potential to propel my vision into the stratosphere or dissect it to pieces. I had all I needed to reclaim my place in this world, but fear lingered, whispering in the back of my mind about possible outcomes. The first to step through the door was Doug, my initial investor, his expression warm and encouraging. "Claire, this place looks incredible." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. His approval bolstered my confidence. As the guests mingled, I caught snippets of their conversations, praises for the intricate designs, admiration for the seamless integration of green technology. Each compliment chipped away at my apprehension, replacing it with a surge of pride. I made my way to the atrium, a breathtaking space where light flooded through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the luxurious finishes. I took a moment to collect my thoughts, inhaling the essence of my hard work. As I looked out over the crowd, I felt like a conductor rehearsing in an orchestra. Everything was set to play its part in creating a symphony of success. Just then, I noticed Mark entering the room. My heart stumbled at the sight of him, dressed sharply as he scanned the crowd. The self-assured smile he wore felt like a ghost, a reminder of our past battles. This was the pivotal moment I had been waiting for, the opportunity to prove that I had risen from the ashes, illuminated by my own fire. Mark caught my eye and approached with a feigned nonchalance, but the tension was thick. "Well, Claire, I must admit, this is impressive," he said smoothly, his voice dripping with insincerity. "I didn't expect you to recover so quickly." I met his gaze with a smile that barely masked my underlying determination. "Thank you, Mark. Your support in the past, or lack thereof, has only fueled my ambition," I replied, my tone steady and clear. The words felt like a small victory, a shift in the power dynamic I had longed for. As I stepped away from him, I took a deep breath, circling back to absorb the positive feedback surrounding me. It was time for my moment in the spotlight. I gathered everyone in the grand hall to formally present my vision. The air buzzed with anticipation, and I could feel the crowd's eyes on me as I stepped onto the makeshift stage. With a measured breath, I addressed the audience, passion infusing my voice. Thank you all for being here today. This mansion isn't just a property, it's the embodiment of a new narrative in luxury living. Imagine a world where sustainability and opulence go hand in hand. Our mission is to push boundaries, not only in design but in how we interact with our environment. I watched as heads nodded, interest sparking in their eyes. I shared my journey, the betrayal, the struggle, but also the resilience. With each revelation, I could see my transformation resonate through the crowd. I was not merely a survivor, I was emerging as a leader reshaping the landscape. After my presentation, I opened the floor for questions. Doug raised his hand, a supportive grin on his face. Claire, would you say this experience has changed how you view the real estate industry? I seized the opportunity to reinforce my vision. Absolutely. It's about learning from every hurdle, both my own and those around me. While Mark may have exemplified a narrow view on ambition, I envision a broader picture where we embrace collaboration, innovation, and, above all, responsibility. Together, we can redefine success. The applause that followed felt like a tidal wave crashing over me, enveloping me in overwhelming affirmation. I couldn't hold back my smile. This was more than a successful event, it was the culmination of everything I had fought for. The party continued to buzz with energy, small groups forming as they discussed innovative ideas, potential collaborations, and investment opportunities. I could feel the room shifting, the electric connection forming among players eager to embrace change. Mark lingered near the back, his earlier confidence fading. I shot him one last glance, a silent acknowledgement that my journey had mended a fracture within me, a fractured narrative now renewed and vibrant. This night marked not just a new beginning for me, but also the closing of an old chapter. As time pressed on, I relinquished the formalities, transitioning into casual conversations, finally allowing myself to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I laughed and celebrated with my guests, reveling in the atmosphere of possibility. Yet, I knew this was just the beginning. The grand unveiling wasn't just a celebration, it was the stepping stone toward ongoing opportunities. Hours later, as the last guests departed, I stood alone in the grand hall, the echo of laughter still reverberating around me. I ran my fingers along the polished banister, a wave of gratitude washing over me. I had transformed this space, but more importantly, it had transformed me. With a newfound sense of purpose and identity, I prepared for the next steps. It would involve navigating the complexities of business, securing partnerships, and forging paths ahead. I was ready. I had risen from the ashes, not only ready to reclaim my rightful place but also to redefine it on my own terms. The world would soon know this Claire, not just as a survivor but as a force to be reckoned with, bold and unyielding in the face of the challenges to come. The days following the grand unveiling were nothing short of exhilarating. My phone buzzed incessantly, a flurry of messages from potential collaborators, eager investors, and intrigued buyers. Each notification was a pulse of adrenaline surging through me, reminding me that my vision was not only alive but thriving. I found myself absorbed in the momentum, navigating a landscape rich with opportunities. Every conversation I engaged in felt significant, as if I were threading together a tapestry of connections. Those initial interactions were strategic, carefully crafted to align with my core values of sustainability and luxury. I prioritized genuine relationships, recognizing that collaboration was essential for success in an industry that often thrived on competition. Then, unexpectedly, Mark reached out, suggesting we meet. I braced myself for the encounter, sitting across the table from him at a posh cafe. An air of tension surrounded us as I scrutinized his posture, trying to gauge his intentions. Claire, he began, smoothing down his tie with meticulous care, I was impressed by your vision for the mansion. I'd like to discuss potential collaborations moving forward. A wave of emotions washed over me, betrayal, skepticism, yet also a glimmer of curiosity. He was the man who had once cast me aside, but was there a kernel of sincerity beneath that polished exterior? I understood that possibilities could sometimes emerge from unexpected places, even from someone I once considered an adversary. I appreciate the offer, Mark, I replied, steadying my voice. However, any partnership must be rooted in my commitment to sustainability and innovation. I won't compromise on those principles again. He paused, momentarily taken aback. I understand, he finally said, his tone defensive. But a collaboration could benefit both of us. We both have a stake in this industry. That may be true, I countered, feeling a surge of resolve. But trust is the foundation of any partnership, and that's something I can't overlook. His expression shifted, a flicker of humility breaking through his facade. Let's keep the conversation open, Claire. I'm willing to adapt if it means we can work together. Leaving that meeting, I felt a strange sense of closure. I had confronted the ghost of my past and stepped forward, stronger and more determined. But this was just the beginning. I redirected my focus toward nurturing the relationships I had built since the unveiling. I started organizing roundtable discussions, inviting experts in sustainable design to share insights and foster conversation. These events became a melting pot of ideas and inspiration. Each dialogue enriched my understanding and solidified my presence in the industry. I found immense joy in sharing knowledge, learning from others, and building a community committed to making a change. The feedback I received ignited a fire within me, motivating me to push boundaries even further. As my initiatives gained traction, word spread beyond our local community. Media outlets began to take notice, publishing articles that not only highlighted my projects but also emphasized my commitment to pioneering sustainable luxury. It was satisfying to witness my reputation blossom into that of a thought leader, someone who was daring to envision the future. Yet, despite the accolades and invitations to speak, a lingering thread of communication with Mark remained. I couldn't shake the thought that perhaps he had changed, that collaboration could yield positive results if we could align our visions. Embracing that notion, I approached him with the idea of an annual conference dedicated to sustainable living solutions, a platform where diverse voices could unite and drive change. To my astonishment, he accepted my invitation willingly. As we collaborated on the framework of the conference, our conversations shifted from adversarial to cooperative. The dynamic felt fresh, and the tension that once existed began to dissipate, replaced by a budding sense of mutual respect. The day of the conference arrived, and I couldn't contain my excitement. The energy in the air crackled as innovative minds gathered under one roof, all ready to engage in meaningful discussions. I felt a profound sense of purpose as speakers took the stage to share their insights, igniting a passion that was palpable among the attendees. When it was finally my turn to present, I stood on that stage, reflecting on the journey I had taken to get there. Together, we are not just building homes, I declared passionately, but pioneering a movement towards a sustainable future. We are at a pivotal moment, and our choices today will shape the world for generations to come. The applause that followed was thunderous, a wave of affirmation flooding over me. This was not merely recognition. It symbolized the metamorphosis I had undergone, a shift from being a sidelined player to a recognized leader. I reveled in the collective energy of the room, motivated by the many ideas and innovations that flowed freely around me. After the conference concluded, I took a moment to absorb everything that had transpired. The connections I had fostered and the ideas sparked throughout the event felt monumental. I realized that my story was no longer solely about personal redemption. It extended into a powerful narrative of community and collaboration. Weeks passed, and as I sat in my office planning future initiatives, I pondered on how to maintain the momentum we had built. I envisioned workshops and mentorship programs designed specifically for aspiring architects who shared my passion for sustainability. The vision excited me, the possibilities felt endless. As I made plans, I couldn't shake the lingering thought of Mark's presence in my future. Perhaps our collaboration could lead to further breakthroughs. He might have something valuable to contribute to this growing movement. There was no denying we were both working toward the same goals, albeit from different starting points. With renewed clarity, I knew I was ready for whatever lay ahead. I had transformed my experiences into a force for good, ready to navigate not just my own aspirations but to uplift others as well. The world was watching, and I was determined to lead with a combination of fierce ambition and an unwavering commitment to social responsibility. In embracing the journey I had undertaken, I knew one thing for certain: the future was bright, and I was prepared to face it head-on. With each stride, I felt fortified by every person I connected with, every challenge I overcame, and every dream I dared to bring to life. The world would come to know Claire, not just as a survivor, but as a powerful innovator, ready to carve pathways in an ever-evolving landscape. Together, we would forge a new narrative, one filled with hope and sustainability. After the conference, I felt a renewed sense of purpose shaping my daily routine. I dove into planning workshops and mentorship programs for aspiring architects eager to immerse themselves in sustainable design. Each plan energized me, feeling like a beacon of hope lighting the path for others. Yet, the question of Mark's role in my future lingered. Would our collaboration yield real fruit? Our past had been tumultuous, but I sensed a potential for growth if we could genuinely work together. With a mix of curiosity and cautious optimism, I reached out to him. Over lunch, I suggested we meet to brainstorm our upcoming workshops. As he entered the cafe, I noticed a lighter air around him. Something had shifted. "Claire," he started, his tone sincere, "I've been thinking. Your dedication to sustainability is impressive and inspiring." I was taken aback by his compliment. "Thanks, Mark. I believe we can ignite passion in aspiring architects through these workshops." As we shared ideas, our conversation sparkled with creativity. I sensed a genuine partnership could sprout from our discussion, one rooted in mutual ideals rather than past mistakes. By the meeting's end, we silently agreed to work toward a common mission, nurturing a new generation focused on sustainable architecture. Weeks later, our first workshop, Building the Future, Sustainable Design and Innovation, took place. Participants, a mix of students and young professionals, filled the room with excitement and eagerness. As I welcomed them, I felt a surge of pride in what we were about to accomplish together. With Mark by my side, we led a lively discussion about the principles of sustainable design. As we harmonized our presentations, I recognized how our strengths complemented each other. The energy was palpable. Questions flowed from our audience, sparking insightful discussions that ignited their enthusiasm. Throughout this workshop, I felt the momentum of change gathering. Each idea exchanged was a step towards a transformative future. As participants engaged in hands-on exercises, their confidence blossomed, creating an atmosphere of collaboration where creativity thrived. That night, I reviewed feedback from attendees, reflecting on how far I had traveled since my days of uncertainty. I had transitioned from a place of vulnerability to one of purpose, now mentoring those who sought to follow in my footsteps. The realization filled me with warmth. Together, we were creating a ripple effect of impact. However, despite the success of our first workshop, lingering doubt sometimes crept back into my mind. Could I truly trust Mark going forward? Was there a risk that past grievances would resurface and threaten our collaboration? To address these uncertainties, I proposed a follow-up workshop focused on real applications of the concepts we discussed. This time, it would center on innovative projects showcasing sustainability in action. I could feel a sense of urgency mounting, the need to inspire our participants to take meaningful action. As we prepared for the next workshop, I saw familiar excitement in our attendees' eyes, the kind of excitement that comes from realizing one's potential. The energy in the room was electric as they shared ideas and engaged with the material, ready to forge their paths forward in this vital field. After concluding the session, I exchanged a glance with Mark, and a silent understanding passed between us. The partnership we had cultivated was multifaceted, supported by our shared commitment to push boundaries and inspire change in our industry. With each workshop, more people joined our movement, each contributing their unique perspectives and creativity. I began to see the beginning of a community, a network where sustainability was not just a goal but a way of life. The road ahead remained unwritten, yet I felt ready to embrace the possibilities it brought. I could now envision a legacy of inspiration stretching far beyond myself, one that involved countless voices and stories converging toward a singular vision of a sustainable future. In that realization, I understood that the world was indeed watching, and I was prepared to lead with courage and unwavering conviction. Each stride I took felt powerful, fueled by the knowledge that together, we were forging a new narrative, one filled with hope, innovation, and sustainability for generations to come.